Listening to that was another David, Dr. David Nicol, a consultant neurologist from Worcestershire. Morning, David.
Good morning, Elliot.
So, I think it's no secret, is it? The NHS needs more doctors and nurses. So, why on earth are the government not funding them then?
Well, I think they need to listen to the person who was the chair of the Health Select Committee last year, who said it's disappointing government has again rejected our call for transparent and independent projections on the number of doctors and nurses we need to meet future demand. And who is that man? Jeremy Hunt, the now Chancellor. That is where the block is. And fundamentally, it is going to come down to money.
Wasn't it Jeremy Hunt when he was? Didn't he once say that?
It was.
Was it Worcestershire Royal was the hospital he was most worried about? So he knows what it's like round here. You'd think
he knows what it's like.
Yeah.
And I know what it's like. I spent an evening in A&E with a very good friend of mine, just seeing what the pressures are like. And everything that the Vice Chancellor said is true. But also the cost of training doctors is expensive. In fact, this is solvable because Aston University Medical School have the similar issue. They were training a lot of overseas medical students, and there was uproar about this and thought this is just daft. And there has been just a complete failure of workforce planning. And I think back 10 years ago when I was in the Royal College Council, we need to be seeing the doubling of workforce places, but the Treasury were the ones trying to put the blocks on this because they're worried about the costs of doctors' pensions later on. So just imagine, Elliot, imagine you're 18, you've got 3 A stars, and you decide you're not going to go to the BBC, you're going to go around the corner and join Worcester Medical School.
Yeah.
The reality is this, and I've spoken to colleagues within the Doctors Association medical students, is that they face between 50 and 90,000 pounds of debt when they finish university, then go through training. If you get to consultant level, so say mid-30s, within 4 years, now because of the pensions issue that doctors are facing, you'll face a pensions tax of £10,000 or more a year, basically. Which is why it leads on to what the Vice Chancellor is saying, is that GPs and others are retiring early or cutting back their hours.
Do you think that's also why the government seem to be quite keen on using agency staff, because they don't have to employ them, they don't have to have the pension burden and all that kind of thing?
Well, it is very expensive, and also it's much cheaper to take staff who've been trained overseas, for example, who've been in medical school overseas and done the training bit, and then come and work here. I mean, the NHS would fall over tomorrow if it wasn't for overseas staff. It really would.
Yeah. But they are brought in. They're procured, aren't they, through agencies, which is a very expensive way of doing it. And surely training people. Yes, you've got to pay up front, but in the long term, would it not work out cheaper all the same?
Well, think about this like a bucket, with holes in it, and we can pour as many students as we want at the top. If that bucket is leaking, and believe me, it is leaking, so what I would say to all the politicians, this is one of the failures of both Conservatives and Labour, admit I'm Liberal Democrat, is none of them answer the word retention. Because yes, you need to be training more staff, but you also need to be retaining more staff as well.
Very good point. Yeah, it's a very good point, isn't it, Dr. David Nicol? Thank you very much. Yeah, if they're all going, it doesn't matter how many new doctors you bring in, you're still going to have the same amount of shortfall of doctors. We did obviously invite a government minister onto the show today to discuss the university's concerns, but we've been told no one is available. Great. Instead, we have this. The Department of Health and Social Care have given us a statement. They say, since 2017, the government has provided funding for an extra 1,500 medical school places per year. They also say they created 5 new medical schools as part of this process. We have commissioned NHS England to develop a long-term plan for the NHS workforce for the next 15 years. This will look at the mix and number of staff required across all parts of the country, including doctors. But listening to Dr. David Nicol there, doesn't sound like it's working in its current form. What do you think about this? The word bonkers has been used by you a lot this morning. Quite a few of you saying that it just seems, and it does. It seems illogical, doesn't it? You have this lovely new facility. This is one of, well, as the statement says, 5 training schools around the country, new training facilities. But if you're only training doctors from abroad because you're not funding the ones from the UK, then they will go. Of course, they'll go back to where they came from and they'll go and work in their home countries. They will take their skills with them, and then we will still not have the doctors we need here in the NHS. Give us your thoughts, please.